So this will be either my first or second how-to video. I'm kind of shooting two videos at the same time as parts dry and so forth. But here we can see a road that I've done earlier, and that's going to show you how I make them. I found kind of a neat way to get a real good result. We'll have a couple shots here of the two roads I did. Alright, so here's the materials I use when I make my roads. I start out with foam board. This is a, I don't know, maybe what, 1/4 inch thick, if that. Foam board I get from Walmart. It's made by Elmer's. You can get the cheaper version if you want. Sometimes you can get it at the dollar store. I don't know what quality it is. They're probably all about the same once they're painted. I will tell you, when you cut this into strips, use a very sharp knife. Brand new razor blade every time I start, and then I change as I'm working every now and then. You'll find that the foam board gets these little pockets in it that will cause it to tear. It's like little hard chunks where it's not real steady. So what I do is I measure it, and I use a straight edge to cut it, or a pattern. Where we're going to be working today is this road up here in the corner. It's kind of crooked. So what I did is I cut them, get around the bridge here, put down the lift bridge so you can see. The boards have been glued in, or cut. Unfortunately, I got a nasty seam here that I'm going to have to try and hide. I got a partial idea for that. I did, when I painted it, I clogged it with paint, but it didn't really seal it up well. But it'll be a seam. I'm going to take a magic marker and make it look like a tar seam. You can see I've already got the ties in for the road. Not the best joint there between the one section of road and the tie. So first I glued my boards, or cut my boards, and I glued them down, or the foam board. I used this time liquid nails to glue them down because it wouldn't warp them. Sometimes this foam board, when exposed to Elmer's glue, warps. I used to put my backdrops on this stuff with Elmer's glue, and I'd had terrible trouble with it warping. So after I switched to liquid nails, it works pretty good. So first thing I did was glue them down after I cut them out, and then I painted them. And if you paint this stuff flat black, these boards, it still looks pretty much the way it does now. But I found, actually my daughter found this at Walmart. And it's kind of hard to read it there, but it says pavement. Found this in the craft department at Walmart. It's an acrylic paint, so it washes out with water. It's really cool. I use a lot of their stuff there. But this one actually said pavement, and it gave a real good color. I used it on these roads over here, as well as this one. Now, we're almost ready to put stripes down. These have been glued down and they're already painted, but there's a step that's missing, and I sand them. Now, this is a piece of sandpaper I've used, and you can see this side's real strong, and this is pretty well used up. And that's the side I'm going to use up to scuff my road. I want to scuff it so it looks like it's got travel on it. It doesn't take a lot. There. Now you can kind of see the difference between the road that's been scuffed. I'm going to stop the camera, scuff the rest of it, and then we'll get on with our striping here. Alrighty. That took all of maybe 3 minutes to sand that. And I didn't sand it real hard. And you can see there's a couple spots I missed, but it helps bring out, the traffic pattern. I scuffed the other side. Now, one thing I failed to mention before I told you, so it doesn't matter what angle you hold your sandpaper, but always go back and forth in the direction the vehicles are going to travel in. That'll give you the wear pattern, because if you go this way, the wear pattern will be wrong. So next we're going to put some striping on our road. Okay, I got my striping out. If I haven't said anything about it before, I'm sorry, I'm running the air conditioners, the noise you hear in the background. It's still kind of hot here in the train room. It's the second floor and it gets to be a cooker, which makes ballasting dry real quick. But okay, this is the striping kit that I've got here, and it's made by, or made and sold by a company called Red Lion. I found them on eBay, and they make an assortment, as you can see here, of different, everything from your crosswalks, your double yellow line, your fog line, stop markings, most important railroad crossing, crosswalks, although we don't use this type here in my area, but, and of course you've got your arrows for which direction to turn. They also sell roads, which originally when I bought stuff I ordered it. This is a road. I got 3 lengths of it. I was originally going to use this before I found my foam board. And the way I found the foam board using that for a road is I happened to be sitting there one day with a piece of scrap in my hand, and I thought I'd see what it looked like when I painted it. And I really liked the way it looked, and it scuffed up. I don't think you could use sandpaper on this to scuff it up. And this is like it's a 2 or 3 layer, the road and the stripes here. I'll show you how you use it. You split them apart. It has like a paper backing on the back, and then it's 2 decals, one on top of another. And the idea is you peel the cardboard off the back, you stick your road down, and use a credit card or a smooth thing to wedge it down, or to get all the air bubbles out of it. And then you have to peel the clear top layer off of that while leaving the road or the striping in place. So they sell road. This is one of their curves. I think this was the sharper curve that they have. They offer it in 2 sizes. Now I also want to add, this is supposed to be O scale. Maybe the stripes are just a little bit wide for HO, but I like them real well. I had done some research when I was planning my roads over here. I had researched them to see just how wide they should be, and the more and more I played with it, they say on the internet I found it's about 2 inches. Well, 2 inches is an awful narrow road, and maybe it's just because I live here in New York State, and we do tend to have wider roads than some of the other states that didn't have the amount of tax money to put into it. But these closer fit what I was wanting to model, so I made my roads about 4.5 inches wide. And that's without sidewalk. But I guess to everybody their own. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these fog lines, and I'm going to get a straight edge and a real sharp razor blade out, and we're going to separate a fog line, and we've already got a set of double yellow separated here, and these will be our crossings for the roads that we're going to put down. So I'm going to stop the camera. I'm going to get myself a fog line stripe cut out, and I'm going to clear this up so I have a place to work, and we'll get on with our striping. Okay, I grabbed my trusty rule here, level. It's got a real good straight edge because I want to, it's hard to see that white stripe on that white background, but I don't want to nick the stripe when I'm doing it. Again, I got a real good sharp knife here, and I'm going to be real careful, take my time and separate this critter. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I've got my, it's real hard to see, but this is a single strip of white fog line. You'll see it better when it gets on the road. I cut out 2 of these railroad crossing marks for the pavement. One thing I had to work real hard to remind myself, I almost did it wrong. When you're working on roads like these guys here, like specifically the one way in the back here, make sure you put it in what looks like backwards to you. I almost messed up when I was putting that in. One thing I didn't mention, and I kind of wish I had done it, I waited to put the stripes on the road till after my basic ground scenery was in, my dirt was glued in. And that kind of made a problem, especially on my construction site. I'll kind of take you over there and show you. Now before we get into it, this is going to be a construction site. I didn't want to pave through the middle of this double crossover here. It just seemed like it would have been a real pain in the butt to try to service once in a while or whatnot. It's bad enough having all these other crossings on both sides that I have to take care of. But I came up with the idea that this is going to be like a construction site. Like the railroad is putting in a new crossing while they had it tore up. They're putting in new ties. You can see that there's some ties here that are black, so those have just been replaced, the old weathered ones and rusted rail. We got different kind of ballast that shows that it's got new ballast. And along with that, I glued some of the, I used brown builder sand for my dirt. I piled it up here on the end of the road. It's really hard to see that it's this level. But this is where it came on, because this is kind of a parking lot where vehicles pull in, and certainly during the construction and to get to the factory or the station here. But where I messed up was, had I went and put the stripes on the road before I glued this dirt in, that fog line here would have been buried under some of this. I probably would have lost most of it, but here in a couple places it would have shown through. And it would have looked much better because the dirt, of course, would have been on top of the fog line. Now if I put one down here, it's going to be on top of the dirt and it's going to look terrible. So I just left it out, like the dirt was covering everything there. But that really would have looked a lot better. And in some cases, like across here, you can see where the glue left the stain. I'm going to leave that. Looks kind of like puddles. It adds a little bit to the road. Getting ready to... Okay, so our next step, we have our fog line, our two roads, and we've got a 3-foot long strip over here of double yellow solid lines for our road. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the fog line. I'm going to go over and I'm going to, I guess I'll take this both. So here I've got a fog line. I'm kind of doing an approximation guess on measuring because none of them are perfect, even in real life. See the ones the idiots here in Dunkirk pasted. We have a yellow stripe that goes out onto our pier right into the middle of the driving lane instead of splitting the lanes like it should. Alright, so I'm just going to mark that and then I'm going to cut it. Okay, so I've got my little strip here I measured for that one side, and I used a pair of scissors to cut it. I could have used a razor blade, but one thing I noticed when I was doing the other, and I kind of studied stripes out in the local town before I started my project here, but where you cut it, you want that to be pretty square. You don't want it to be, you know, half cocked. Not that the people who usually put down the lines are bright enough to get them perfect in the first place, but it seems to be when they pick up that little roller that they use or the sprayer that they use and they stop it, it usually tends to leave a nice straight line where it cuts off. Okay, so my next thing is I've got to try and separate this, and boy, holding the camera and doing this is going to be trick. Well, usually what I do is I work with my knife just to get between the backing and the clear layer. So let me see if I can get that done and then I'll show you. Okay, what you can see here is the backing I've got peeled away. You can see the stripe, and if I handle it with this, if you look real carefully, you can see there's a clear coating on that. Now we're going to have to peel the clear coating off the top of the stripe once the stripe is put down. So best way to do that is to dog-ear the clear coating a little bit. That doesn't really show it at all, but I've got the corner dog-eared, and I'm going to use my tweezers and finger to applicate this. Usually the way I do it is I find a starting point, use my finger to press down, and well, you can't quite do that, and you need two hands. I need an extra set of hands. I'll get it started and then I'll bring the camera over and show you what it looks like started. Okay, I got it started there on the edge. Now I'll peel the backing away while holding this end in the air, and I'll slowly use my finger to work it smooth as I go this way. Again, I don't have any way of holding the camera, so I will stop it, get the strip applied, and we'll go from there. Okay, now you can see I've got the backing off. I got my stripe on. I got a little farther over here than I really should have, but it'll live. You can kind of see the clearness, the backing, and that's actually going to peel up. It's nice when you have the end that the factory leaves to peel it up with, but after you've trimmed it, you won't have that, and see how that stripe wants to lift. So what you need to do is gotta rub it down real good, and you may even have to use an X-Acto or your razor knife to get in there and separate the two. So let me get that strip peeled off. Okay, I got the strip started, and once it starts, it rips everything back up again when you do it one-handed. Okay, I managed to save the stripe. Your best friends when you're working with that stuff, a pair of tweezers. Reason being is you don't want to get your oily fingerprints on the back of the stripe. It won't go back down. It's not perfect, but it'll do. The road we're working on is country road anyway. So I'm going to go get the fog lines put on, and then I'll show you how to get the double yellow lines on. Okay, I got the other fog line partially down, and now I'm going to work my knife in here and get that lifted a little bit there. There it goes. I'll get my tweezers over there. See if I can get my strip pulled off. And there's the clear. Boy, they don't always work that way. I wish they did. Alright. Our next step is to get the fog lines on this side. And they're going to be a little more challenging because we got a bit of a curve to do. But I will get that done. Okay, here we are. I've got the fog lines in from one side to the other. You'll see that you can't hardly see it, but I ran short and I had a scrap from when I did my other roads, so I kind of extended this one, but it came out good. Alright, so next we need to find the center of our road so that we can put our yellow striping and our railroad crossing sign on the pavement. So let me go find my yo-yo. Okay, I'm back. Got my yo-yo. That, by the way, is this thing. Those of you who may not know what a yo-yo is, ha ha ha. I was raised by my grandparents, and so I have a lot of old-fashioned terms. Now, I used a permanent magic marker, and it's kind of plain to see here, my mark, and there, but when I'm done, they'll blend right into the road. I've also marked both sides of the crossing over there, and that one's going to be the hard one, but I got some special plans for that one. So, next thing I want to do is I want to test our crossing decal. Alright, what I was interested in finding out is part of its placement. I had hoped to put a working crossing gate here. And that would kind of mean that this is going to be probably in that area. It's going to be kind of rough because of that curve. Now, in real roads, this is usually back a ways from the stop. I could put that there, and maybe another white line here when I get my crossing gates installed. I think that's what I'm going to do. Now, the other side, it's going to be a bit of a trick, but I got this little bugger, and it's kind of a leftover from fixing a screw up. When I did one of the crossings on the lower deck, one of the R's didn't stick. In fact, it just kept rolling right off. So I cut the R out of this one, and I figured I might be able to use it for scrap. But luck has it that if I cut this right down this line, it'll work perfect for the other side. And you see it'll fit like there, and the R's, move my finger, you can see where the R used to be. It'll be floating off in space, part of the imaginary railroad that isn't there. So, I'm going to get these mounted, and then we'll do some yellow striping. Okay, I wanted to show you, this is really cool about, even though the top backing, you can see the bottom cardboard backing right here below me, even though it has this clear backing that you got to work to peel off, and sometimes it's a pain. This is what is really nice about it though. I'm going to get this all in one shot. This is made out of 5 different stickers really on the back of here, and this allows me to place it once, rub it down real good, and when I pull it off it should leave all of them in place. works out. So we'll see how that. Okay, here we go. I've got it applied. Still need to probably do some rubbing, make sure that's good and good and on there, good and stuck. Now comes the fun of removing it. Again, we'll get my trusty tweezers, and while I had the decal up, I dog-eared this to make it easier for me. And we'll see how well this is going to work. Look at that. Alright, now I can get my fingers in here. Well, see, that R is going to fight me. So, there's two ways to fix that. Push real hard, rub it, try it, rub it and try it, until you know that it's going to stay. So you gotta go kind of slow. And if that doesn't work, you may have to get your X-Acto out and tease it down. But it looks like things are going to go real well. This is going to be a pain because it's on that lip. I can see it now. Yeah, see, it wants to pull off that side. Oh, we're resticking. Alright, so I'm going to have to get the X-Acto out. Okay, if you look real careful, I got the knife just between the clear film and this decal. And now I'm going to just pull that off again. Only two hands here. Boy, I could use four, but back. Great. Okay, so there's that one. Now I'm going to go over and do the other side. I'm doing these first because they're going to help set where my yellow lines go. So I've got one over there to do. And really want to show you one of the reasons I keep stopping the camera when I go to get tools. Other than having one hands. This, which I use for my kind of a workbench, is actually a swing bridge. And it's going to be a problem when I get scenery put on it. But I get this stuff off so I can get on the other side of the room. My room is real small. And up goes the swing bridge. Through we go. There, you can kind of see it. I'll put it down. And now I'm going to try and work from this end. Ha ha ha. Anyway, I got to cut that to fit. So here's our decal, which seems to have attached itself to the other. I'm going to get that cut real. All right. Okay, again, you can't quite see the railroad crossing because of the. Well, if I get a shadow in it, maybe you can. The glare of the fluorescent lights in here. But I cut it off so it'll fit on that road up there. And you know what I was noticing when I did this? I got kind of lucky. I got that stripe down there that I was going to put down where the crossing gate should be. So there it is. On this one, because this will be so close to the tracks, we'll use this. But the leftover piece on here, you can see I got a piece there that's left over. But I'll use that to make the stop in the other lane. So the crossing gate doesn't have to be right where this decal is. Alright, let me go get this installed and then you can see what it looks like. Well, there it is. Hopefully, when I get my yellow double lines in, it'll look more correct. Doesn't look too bad. Maybe not as perfect as I had it in my mind, but that happens to me a lot. Alrighty, let me cut the first double yellow line and get her installed. Well folks, here we are. I didn't show the disaster, but I had a disaster here. They peeled back when I took the top film off. They peeled back to about here. And just like these stickers, the two stripes are actually separate stickers, so you don't get a film between them left on the road. So I had a little trouble getting them straight. Hopefully they look alright. I'm pretty happy with it. It certainly looks better than it did when I started. Still needs a little weathering. And I'm going to do a little experimenting with this one with the felt tip marker. And I'm going to try and make some, make it look like there's some sealed cracks on it. Alright, well that's the end of this video. I will put a link to the site where you can get the stripping kits. And remember this, I used O-scale stripes. They seem to work really good for HO. So thanks for watching.